The Tennessee Titans made more GM interview requests on Thursday. I'll tell you who they were for and why this move needs to happen quickly on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL, all lowercase, to win $50 instantly when you play $5. We got more Tennessee Titans general manager interview requests. I'm going to remind you of who they've requested so far, talk about who got interview requests on Thursday, give you my top candidates, and I'll tell you why the Tennessee Titans need to make this move quickly. And also, we got some crazy news for the Titans. Mike Keith, the voice of the Titans, will be leaving the team and not going very far. So I'll talk about all of that on today's show. Before I get into it, do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, of course, it's going to be the weekend, but if Tennessee Titans news happens with this general manager position, you know that I'm going to be all over it and ready for a bonus episode with you guys. So again, make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed, so you never miss a moment of Tennessee Titans information. But again, we got more interview requests on Thursday for the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to go over the new names, but just as a reminder to you guys, the people who got interviews, not had their interviews, but got an interview request from the Tennessee Titans already: Mike Borgonzi from Kansas City, Terrence Gray from Buffalo, John Spytek from Tampa Bay, Catherine Hickman from Cleveland, Ed Dodds from Indianapolis, Reggie McKenzie from the Miami Dolphins. If you guys want a full review on all of these candidates, I talked about that on yesterday's episode. I went through 16 different candidates, and a lot of those guys are names that got interview requests from the Titans on Thursday. The new interview requests that have come in: Thomas Dimitroff, who was the longtime general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about him yesterday. Ian Cunningham, who I talked about twice on yesterday's show by accident. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens. He was with those organizations as a scout for a long time, 14 years with those two teams. Been in Chicago for the last 3 years. He's currently the assistant general manager. A guy who was the runner-up to Ran Carthon, was a finalist to Ran Carthon when the Titans looked to hire a general manager a couple of years ago. Matt Berry is another guy who got an interview request for the Tennessee Titans. He's currently with the Seattle Seahawks, but he is a college guru. He's currently the senior director of player personnel for the Seahawks, but he's been a regional scout, been a national scout, been a director of college scouting. So that really fits the mold of the college guru who can handle the draft really, really well that the Titans described with their description of what they're looking for in the new general manager. And the final name that I want to talk about here, though, those are the three that got interviews from the Tennessee Titans on Thursday. And I'm going to talk about those three, but I want to throw another name in the ring here that did not get an interview request from the Tennessee Titans yet. It's probably because he got fired on Thursday, and it's Tom Telesco of the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, he hasn't got an interview request from the Titans, but I think they need to reach out to him. He was the longtime general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers back when they were in San Diego as well. Tom Telesco was a one-year general manager for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, what I want to do is, before I talk about Tom Telesco, I want to mention why he was let go of his last two jobs. One, for the Chargers, he could never hire a good enough coach. And they were going with Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh wasn't going to inherit a general manager. Jim Harbaugh is going to get his own guys. And I agree with the Chargers that letting Jim Harbaugh come in and run the organization and pick a general manager, and I'm perfectly fine with that as a plan for the Chargers. I think that was the right move. But what it doesn't mean is that Tom Telesco is a bad GM. They were just going a totally different direction. And that's what happened here with the Raiders as well. The Raiders hired Tom Telesco, but now Tom Brady is a minority owner. He's got a lot of influence and say on the organization. They fired Antonio Pierce, and it makes sense because this is what most franchises want to do. They are going to hire a brand new coach, and they want to hire a GM that came in with the coach. So those two are partners instead of this weird thing the Titans like to do where they have a general manager, they have a coach, and they fire the other one and don't fire both at the same time. Most teams want to bring a new GM in when they bring in a new coach so that those two are tied at the hip and tied together with their contracts, their philosophy on what they want to do. Okay, so my point is Tom Telesco wasn't fired because he did a bad job. Look what he did for the Las Vegas Raiders in one draft class. One draft class. He brought in Brock Bowers, the best rookie tight end in NFL history, and he brought in Jackson Powers Johnson on the offensive line, who we all wanted as Titans fans last offseason, who was tremendous this year as a rookie. So he had 3 or 4 really, really good picks in 1 year with the Raiders. And you go back to Tom Telesco's time at the Los Angeles Chargers, Joey Bosa, Justin Herbert, Rashawn Slater, edge, quarterback, offensive tackle, what the Titans need. He brought in Derwin James, a playmaker at the safety position, Asante Samuel Jr. at cornerback, Keenan Allen at wide receiver, Mike Williams at wide receiver. I mean, he's brought in a ton of talent. The problem with the Chargers over the last 5-6 years hasn't been that they don't have talent on the roster. It's that they haven't had a good coach. And if you hire Tom Telesco to consistently build a good roster and draft well, you don't need him to hire coaches. That's what Chad Brinker is going to be doing because Chad Brinker is ultimately over Tom Telesco. And Telesco may have to wait it out to get another general manager job and be the top dog in an organization, but he doesn't have to wait. If he jumps with the Titans and he can help them build their program for a while before becoming the top dog somewhere else. I think Thomas Dimitroff fits this as well. Dimitroff isn't a young pup who's looking to work his way up and is willing to take the GM job and then keep going. Thomas Dimitroff has been out of the NFL for a couple of years now. I'm sure he's been consulting and working with teams and having conversations, but it's not like people are rushing to hire Thomas Dimitroff as their general manager. And if the other general manager options, the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Jets, if they aren't seriously interested in Thomas Dimitroff and he starts to feel like, well, I may not get another opportunity to be a general manager in the NFL anytime soon. Well, then I think he would make a ton of sense for the Tennessee Titans as a veteran guy who isn't that worried about moving up the corporate ladder at this point, who just wants to get back into the NFL, help build a team, help build a roster, and ultimately have a job again. I think Thomas Dimitroff and Tom Telesco both make a ton of sense from that aspect. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if the Titans do offer an interview request to Tom Telesco after being let go by the Raiders. But either way, you could kind of see the mold there for some of those guys who this may be the last opportunity. Is that really what I want the Titans to hire? No, I would prefer younger guys. I would prefer guys who are still hungry and want to work their way up the ladder. Thinking about guys like John Eric Sullivan out of Green Bay. A guy like Terrence Gray out of Buffalo, guys who I identified yesterday that I really like. Spytek isn't necessarily the youngest guy ever, but I think he's a guy who fits that mold. So I think there are a lot of good options available for the Tennessee Titans. I think Dimitroff and Telesco are good options, but I mean, honestly, I'm fine with them, but I would prefer maybe some of those younger guys that I was mentioning in Gray and Sullivan as well. But with that being said, the Titans need to make this move, and they need to make it as quick as possible. I'm going to explain why this needs to move quickly for the Tennessee Titans, and the voice of the Titans is now gone. We're going to talk about why this is a critical moment for the franchise. Before I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Intuit TurboTax. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Are you tired of endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that's a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. Whether you got one form or 20, TurboTax experts give you taxes give your taxes their undivided attention while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters, You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only on the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action. That's where Prize Picks comes in. If you love football and you want a chance to win real money while watching the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on player stats like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in as little as 60 seconds. And whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or you want quick cash payouts, Prize Picks has got you covered. I've been playing for a while now, and I'm having a blast this week. I'm looking at maybe Josh Allen, more than 230 passing yards, Saquon Barkley for more than one touchdown. I can make my picks, again, in as little as 60 seconds and get paid in as little as 15 minutes. So make sure that you check out this special offer for Locked On Titans listeners. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code Locked On NFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code Locked On NFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. The Tennessee Titans sent out some new requests to interview general manager candidates, went over those, the names I like the most. Now I want to tell you why this move needs to happen and why it needs to happen quickly. The Tennessee Titans cannot drag their feet on this, and based on what they've done so far, it looks like they're not going to do that. So I want to tell you why it's so critical that the Titans do this so fast, and also explain what the timeline is going to be here and when we should expect a general manager hire announcement. But number one, to me, this move is so critical because of how critical the NFL draft is for the Titans and how critical the offseason acquisition period is going to be for the Tennessee Titans. So number one, again, an incredibly important draft for the Titans. Not only do the Titans need a quarterback, but the Titans have the number one pick. The Titans could take one of the quarterbacks. The Titans could trade down. This is a franchise-changing draft, whether it be the Titans take a quarterback and they hit or they miss. That could be franchise-changing for the next few years. Also, if the Titans trade down and get a bunch of picks, and then they need to fill out the roster with a bunch of studs so to get it ready for a quarterback in the future, that'll be absolutely critical. Whatever happens in this draft, whether it's a trade down for more picks, whether it's taking one of the top quarterbacks, it is going to be transformative, either good or bad for the Titans moving forward. So from the draft perspective solely, it's an incredibly important offseason for the Titans. But then you add in the roster management. And of course, that starts with free agency. Are you going to go out and get a veteran quarterback? Are you going to go out and pay Sam Darnold $150 million for 3 seasons? What are you going to do? Are you going to go make a trade for a young guy with upside like a Jake Browning or a Joe Milton even? You know what I mean? Like, what is your move at the quarterback position? What are you going to do with Will Levis? Are you going to trade Will Levis? Are you going to keep Will Levis? Are you going to give Will Levis another opportunity going forward? That's just at the quarterback position, not to mention, what about Harold Landry? His contract is very hefty going into next year. And Harold Landry is a good player, but he's not very good and he's not elite. He's not great. He's a good player. But is he worth what he's getting paid? Are you going to cut him? What about Jeffrey Simmons? I love Jeffrey Simmons. I don't think the Titans should get rid of Jeffrey Simmons, but with where the Titans are at right now as a team and where Jeffrey Simmons is at in his career, would it make sense to maybe trade Jeffrey Simmons for a couple of first-round picks? Is that Is that a logical move? Should they explore that? The Titans need a general manager in the building so they could start having those conversations. And although this general manager expected to be college heavy with a major focus on the college aspect of things, they're certainly going to look at the Titans roster. And if the Titans go out and hire a veteran guy like some of the names that we've seen, Thomas Dimitroff, Tom Telesco, Ray Agnew, Reggie McKenzie, who got an interview. If the Titans go that route with an older guy who's been a general manager before in the NFL, they're certainly going to have input on the rest of the roster outside of just the college and the draft process. It's a general manager job. So, of course, the Titans have a ton of roster decisions to make. Again, we heard from a report a couple of weeks ago or a week ago that the Tennessee Titans want to change the course of the franchise. They want to make sure that they are building for the future. They want to collect draft picks. They want to trim off some fat on their roster. Okay, you want to do all that. That's perfectly fine. I agree with that. But what does that absolutely entail? What veterans are you getting rid of? What trades are you making to accumulate those draft picks? Those are serious questions that the Titans have to answer immediately as soon as this general manager is hired. So you can't drag your feet and wait on that. And if you want the general manager to be a college specific guy and have a focus towards the college scouting part of this, well, the Senior Bowl is right around the corner. The Shrine Bowl is right around the corner. The Combine is next month in February. So if you want your general manager to be college focused, that puts even more of an emphasis on the fact that you need to get this general manager in the building right away, because I would imagine, especially, again, if you get one of these veteran guys like a Dimitroff or a Telesco or a McKenzie, they have their way of doing things and their process and their methods that they're going to want to instate and institute as we get into the most important offseason in franchise history, or at least the most important offseason for the Titans to define their next 5 to 10 years. Look what the Titans did in 2016. All right, it's been 9 seasons since then. The Titans trading down from number 1 overall with Jared Goff and collecting picks, not only for 2016, where they got Jack Conklin, Derrick Henry, Kevin Byard, foundational pieces for the team, but also they got picks in 2017, which Corey Davis and Adoree Jackson didn't turn out to be all-stars or great players, but they were still foundational, solid pieces that allowed the Titans to build out a good roster. That was 2016, and it set up the run that the Titans went on from that moment until 2022 when they collapsed in the middle of the season. It set up the run for the next 5 to 6 to 7 years. That's how important this offseason is. So you have to get the general manager in here quickly. And as for a timeline, the Titans are going to conduct virtual interviews probably throughout the rest of this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they'll probably get into some in-person interviews with their top candidates with their second round, and we'll probably get updates on who those people are. One thing I do want you to take into account, though, is that the weather is a big factor here. There's bad weather all over the country. It's that time of year. I know I'm snowed in right now where I'm at in Ohio, so I think that could push things a couple of days in each part of the process, but I would imagine we get a hire for the Tennessee Titans, I would say by the 20th or 21st that week. 2 weeks from now, the 23rd, 24th of January, I would feel very confident that the Titans have hired somebody by then. And if they haven't, I'll be a little bit concerned with how the new general manager can implement their process in a quick enough time to have full maximum productiveness and full maximum influence by the draft and by the time the Titans need to make their moves in February and March, and then, of course, in April. But with that being said, that's the timeline. That's why it's so important that they move quick. Now we got big news for the Titans. The voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, moving on. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to bet live bets, same-game parlays, of course, they have the money line, the spread, the over-unders, the player props, whatever you need, and so much more. I'm looking at a ton of bets this weekend on FanDuel with these playoff games. Green Bay plus 4.5. I like the Steelers plus 9.5. Give me the Buccaneers -3. Make sure that you check out all the latest for Wild Card Weekend. Visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about the most recent general manager requests for the Tennessee Titans, what it means. Talked about the timeline and why the Titans need to move quickly on this. But now I just need to get in some big news for the Tennessee Titans as a franchise. And it may not have a huge on-field impact, but I think this bit of news signifies how critical this moment is for the Tennessee Titans as a franchise moving forward. But before I get into that, I do want to thank you again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. I'm the lead host of Locked On NFL in the morning show. I'm going over all my best bets of the weekend, talking about every single game during this wild card slate. So you get all your Titans news here with me in under 30 minutes every day. Get your NFL news with me in under 30 minutes for free every day at Locked On NFL. But with all that being said, we got big news on Thursday. Mike Keith, the lead broadcaster for the Tennessee Titans, the voice of the Titans for their entire history as a franchise in Tennessee, has quit. He's quit on the Titans, and he will be taking the job with the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, there's a legendary Tennessee Volunteers broadcaster who is retiring. I'm from Ohio, folks. I'm not a Tennessee Vols fan. I don't know the guy's name. I'm sure a lot of you in my comments do, and you can inform the rest of the public on exactly who that is. But what really matters is for people who aren't into the Tennessee Vols, is Mike Keith is taking the broadcasting job he had with the Titans, but for the Tennessee Vols. And first and foremost, good for Mike Keith. Congratulations. As I understand it, he's alumni there. This is his dream job. He's waited for it his whole life. Congratulations to Mike Keith. I have no problem whatsoever with Mike Keith going to do his dream job and going over to Tennessee. But I think that, some of this, outside of just Mike Keith's motivations, some of this has to do with how destitute the Titans franchise is right now. And think about it this way, if there's all this infighting and all this drama going on that's causing the head coach to get fired and the general manager to get fired and power structure differences and power struggles behind the scenes, if all of that is happening at the highest levels of the Tennessee Titans organization, then I would imagine that some of that is happening at lower levels of the Titans organization as well. That's the example that's being set. The Game of Thrones vibes is what the Tennessee Titans organization feels like from top to bottom. Well, if you're Mike Keith, yes, that's your dream job. Yes, you want to go do that. Yes, you're alumni there. But the situation with the Titans being as bad as it is has to contribute somewhat to your decision to make that move too. Like, it's, say you're fast and it's easy to steal second base. You're on first base, and every time I was fast. That was my one good athletic quality that I had. I was a fast guy, fast kid growing up. Once I hit puberty, of course. Before that, not so much. But so I would steal second and third base in, Babe Ruth baseball every single time. I don't care who's pitching, who's catching. I'm too fast for you to throw me out. It's not going to happen. Well, it was easier if the catcher bobbled the ball, So, yeah, Mike Keith would be able to steal second no matter what. But the Titans also bobbled the ball and made it that much easier. Mike Keith didn't even have to slide to steal second base on this one. So I'm not saying that Mike Keith only left the Titans because the Titans are in a bad spot as a franchise. He might have done it anyway, but it definitely helps grease the skids to make a move like that when the employer that you currently have is in total disarray and is a public embarrassment. You know what I mean? So a lot of people got mad at me because I said the Titans being a clown show right now has to have some sort of impact. But, I mean, just be logical here. You know, I'm not saying it's the reason, but it probably helps. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, moving along. Mike Keith leaving the Titans. The spot is open. Amy, call me. I'm available. I'll do it. Anyways, while Mike Keith, like I said, while Mike Keith didn't have an impact on the product on the field, it's not like the Titans lost or won games because of the broadcaster in the booth that works for the team. But the Titans have lost a lot of public support in recent years, whether it be the losing, the Bengals game, trading A.J. Brown, firing Mike Vrabel, the lost games, now firing Rand Carthon. The Titans have done a lot of things in recent years to lose public trust. They let Derrick Henry leave. Whether you agree with these moves, whether they should or shouldn't happen, whether the Titans should or shouldn't have traded A.J. Brown, or should or shouldn't have re-signed Derrick Henry, or should or shouldn't have fired Mike Vrabel, whatever you think about all those moves, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the public perception of them with a casual fan is that the Titans are idiots. So they've lost a ton of public support, and they've fired a lot of people in the organization that have been around for a long time. The Titans have lost their fan base a little bit here with some of these moves. And again, whether you agree with it or not, drafting Will Levis, not drafting Hendon Hooker. Like, these things are silly to be mad about, but whether they're silly or not, people are mad about them. So you trade A.J. Brown, you totally collapse in 2022. You fire Mike Vrabel. You don't bring back Derrick Henry. You fire people in the organization that's been there for a while, and now you lose Mike Keith. It just contributes to the same public lack of interest and lack of trust in the Titans as an organization and institution. So, as I lay that out and paint that picture for you, my point of that is this is such a critical offseason for the Tennessee Titans. If they draft a quarterback and they bust immediately, like, this team is going to lose a generation of fans. They're going to lose out on so much ticket sales and ad revenue and public standing. The literal value of the franchise is going to be impacted if they draft a quarterback and they bust, because the team and the fans of the team are just going to be so out on anything the team does. And in a place like Nashville, it's not quite the same as Los Angeles or Miami, but there are so many things to do in Nashville. They don't need a pro sports team to captivate them all the time. It's not like Cleveland, Ohio. It's not like Indianapolis. You know, it's not like Green Bay, Pittsburgh. Look, there's stuff to do in those cities, but not like Nashville. Nashville is the tourist capital of the country on the east side of the country past the Mississippi River. That is where people go. There's plenty to do in Nashville that doesn't include the Tennessee Titans, and we've seen that in recent weeks and when other fan bases come in and take over. Because people in Tennessee don't care enough about the Titans to go to the games or to not sell their tickets. The only way that you change that is to change the product on the field. And all of the things that I just mentioned in the last couple of minutes have contributed to a lack of interest. And the Titans, more than anything, have to fix that. And they have to get this right now, or they're going to lose, again, a generation of interested fans. So, with that being said, though, that's going to do it for me today. That's going to do it for me this week on the Locked On Titans podcast. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.